Welcome to the Leadership Playbook, the podcast where we explore what it takes to be a strong, effective, and resilient leader in today's fast-paced world. I'm JC Hurtado-Prater, your host. Whether you're a business leader, a corporate manager, or a supervisor of any kind, federal supervisor, private supervisor, nonprofit, this podcast is designed for you. Uncertainty, which is what we're going to talk about today, is one of the greatest challenges any leader will face, especially in today's current marketplace. The unexpected happens, markets shift, crises emerge, and industries transform overnight. How do leaders respond? How should leaders respond? How do they maintain composure, inspire confidence, and navigate the unknown? Well, that's exactly what we're going to discuss in today's episode that we've titled 6 Ways to Deal with Uncertainty as a Leader. And if this is your first time listening, welcome. Be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And if you find value in today's discussion, share it with your colleagues because leadership is a journey best taken together. Stay tuned. Hey, this is JC. It's great to have you with me today on the podcast. Before we dive in, I want to take a quick moment and talk to you about today's sponsor, Bluestone Corporate Solutions. Are you looking for tailored leadership development and corporate training solutions that drive real results? At Bluestone Corporate Solutions, we specialize in equipping leaders and teams with the skills needed to navigate complex business challenges. Whether you're a mid-level manager, corporate executive, or a federal supervisor, our customized training programs help you build resilience, enhance decision-making, and lead with confidence. Visit bluestone.consulting to learn more about how we can partner with your organization to create a thriving leadership culture. Bluestone Corporate Solutions, because leadership excellence starts with the right foundation. Well, let's dive into our podcast today. Boy, I got to tell you, there's nothing better, I think, that we can talk about right now. And I guess that's not the best way to put it because there's a lot of better things we could talk about, but this is necessary, what we're going to talk about today, and it's uncertainty. And so I want to look at this way, 6 ways to deal with uncertainty as a leader, because I'm sure that this is something that you're facing right now. I work with different clients, and some happen to be federal clients, and you can imagine kind of what they're facing right now. And so I think today, probably in the back of my mind, I'm thinking about them and kind of what they're facing. So let's dive in and let's start with number 1 here. Our first point today, 6 ways to deal with uncertainty as a leader. Number 1, accept that uncertainty is inevitable. Accept that uncertainty is inevitable. One of the biggest mistakes leaders make is believing they should always have all the answers. But the truth is, uncertainty is part of the job. And the sooner that you accept that you will not always know what's coming next, the better prepared you will be to respond effectively. Instead of trying to eliminate uncertainty, learn to operate within it. Think about pilots who fly through turbulence. They don't panic or turn back. They adjust, they stay focused, and use their training to navigate safely. And as a leader, you must do the same. So here's a step that you can take. Build a mindset of adaptability. Instead of fearing uncertainty, expect it and prepare yourself mentally to adjust as needed. It is not easy to do this. But this is really the foundation, is understanding that uncertainty is the only certainty that we have out there, right? What's that saying out there? The only thing constant is change. And that's what it is. And so I think what happens sometimes is we get caught up in a routine, we get caught up in kind of how life is, and we forget the fact that it's not always going to be the way it is today. Uncertainty is a very important concept, and one of the things that I teach to our students at Point Loma Nazarene University, we talk about this quite a bit, is this idea of creative destruction. That entropy, even if the world is going perfect, entropy is always at work, right? The moment something is born, the moment something is created, it starts decaying, it starts dying. That's just kind of the process of life. And so if we understand that, we understand that we've got to be prepared for that. We've got to be prepared for change because, again, change is constant. So that's going to be important. Number two, focus on what you can control. Focus on what you can control. Leaders often waste energy worrying about external factors beyond their control. The key to leading effectively through uncertainty is focusing on what you can control, your attitude, your communication, your decision making, and your team's morale. A great example comes from the military. In high pressure combat situations, soldiers don't dwell on what they can't change. They focus on their training, their mission, and supporting their team. And I've heard many military people talk about this. I remember years ago having a conversation with a couple of Navy SEALs, and they talked about the importance of this right here. That when the bullets start flying, you can't be in a state of chaos. So you immediately go to training. Now, what that states is that there's been preparation for this moment. And that's kind of what we talked about earlier, is having that mindset that uncertainty is going to happen, so that you're in that mode where you're thinking about this ahead of time, and you're understanding that this is on the way, that this is coming down the pike. Okay. And so having a training in place, having certain steps in place when the chaos happens, and then focus on that, focus on the mission, focus on supporting your team, whatever it is, the things that you can control. But make sure you've got a plan in place when uncertainty does happen, because it's going to happen. And when you have that plan in place, you can go back to that and you can focus in on that plan. Okay. Same plan, the same principle applies to leadership. That's why we call this the playbook. It's important to have a playbook for life, for business, and for leadership. So here's the actionable step. When facing uncertainty, make a list of what's within your control and direct your energy there. And that might be the thing that you go to. Okay, when things get out of hand. And boy, just this year has started off just incredibly crazy. I live here in Southern California, and the fires here, and I had one, and it wasn't bad, but we were all nervous because it seemed like the fires that weren't bad, they sprung out of control. And then you had the Eaton fire and the Palisades fire, and just hundreds, thousands of people lives wrecked because of this. One got about 2 miles away from my house, and what are you going to do about it? But that's why I like this right here. Okay, even in all the uncertainties, we had the airplane in DC, and that just seemed to shake the world to its core. We had the election and a new president. For some people out there, it's a great thing. It's a wonderful thing. For other people out there, it's bringing a lot of hurt and disorientation and anger and frustration and disappointment. And so in these times, maybe the thing that you go to is just say, right now, everything feels uncertain, but I can sit down and I can make a list of whatever I can control. And then you just put your energy there. It is amazing to me how many people will put their energy on all kinds of other things besides what they can control. Don't do it. Don't let that be you. Number three, communicate openly and often. When people are uncertain, their first instinct is to fill the gaps with assumptions. And that's what you got to understand. When there's no communication, people make assumptions, often negative ones, mostly negative ones. As a leader, your job is to provide clarity wherever possible. Even if you don't have all the answers, be transparent. Let your team know what you know, what you don't know. and what steps you were taking to navigate the situation. Open communication builds trust and prevents rumors from spreading. So here's the actionable step. When you're going through uncertainty as a leader, hold regular briefings, town halls, or check-ins with your team. Keep them informed and invite questions. Don't just make it a time where you're getting in front of your people and you're just spewing words and just talk, 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 talk. It's not your therapy session. It's for them. So invite questions. And if you don't have the answer, just tell them that I don't really have the answer to that, but I'll get back to you when I do, or I'll try to find that answer for you. Communicate openly and often. That's going to be key when you have uncertainty. Number 4, develop a flexible strategy. In uncertain times, rigid plans can become a liability. Instead, adopt an approach I like to call structured flexibility. Structured flexibility. Have a clear direction, having a clear direction, but being willing to pivot when necessary. That's again what we call structured flexibility. Structured flexibility. Think of this like a GPS. If a road is blocked, your GPS just doesn't shut down, it reroutes you. As a leader, you need to be prepared to adjust your course while keeping your ultimate vision intact. The actionable instead of making long-term fixed plans, build contingency plans. Identify different potential scenarios and prepare flexible responses. Number 5, and again, this is something you have to do even before the uncertainty happens. This is the job of a leader that it's kind of ongoing. Build resilient teams. Build resilient teams. Uncertainty tests not only leaders but also teams. Your people need to be able to be resilient, meaning they can adapt, stay motivated, and continue performing when things don't go as planned. One way to build resilience is by fostering a culture of problem solving and continuous learning. Can't stress that one enough. Both of those, right? Let your people learn how to solve problems. You can't do it for them all the time. It's amazing to me how many leaders have to take all the issues on, and they have to all the answers have to come from them, and then you're not building a team that understands how to problem solve. You have to let them do some of this. And continuous learning. Encourage your team to see challenges as opportunities for growth rather than setbacks. So here's the actionable step. Train your team in adaptive thinking, problem solving, and stress management. The stronger they are, the more effectively they'll navigate uncertainty. Train your team in adaptive thinking, problem solving, and stress management. The stronger they are, the more effectively they'll navigate uncertainty. Number 6, maintain a long-term perspective. During times of uncertainty, it's easy to get caught up in short-term panic, but great leaders keep their eyes on the bigger picture. I can't stress this one enough. Long-term thinking, long-term perspective, it is the key. The key. I think it's the top mental model that you must adopt as a leader. Long-term thinking, long-term perspective, keeping your eyes on the bigger picture. I want you to think of the stock market. Okay, the stock market. There are daily fluctuations, but long-term investors focus on overall growth. Similarly, as a leader, you must remind yourself and your team of your core mission and long-term goals. This keeps morale high and prevents reactionary decision making. And that happens when we're in the midst of uncertainty, when we're in the middle of it and we kind of forget about it. And we don't think long term. We start making decisions based on our fear and anxiety and anxiousness and whatever it is, right? We start acting out of that versus, okay, here's where the company is going long term. Here's where the team is going long term. Your actionable step for this, for 6, regularly revisit your organization's vision and values. Anchor your team in purpose so they stay focused even in turbulent times. And I got to tell you, I have to do this on a weekly basis. As all of you know, life gets chaotic. It gets crazy throughout the week. Even on good weeks, it just gets a little bit chaotic. And all the emails that come and just the consistent emails and the consistent to-do list and just, those little things that keep us off the big things. And so I found that, for me, it's journaling, it's reflection, but always coming back to that long-term thinking and what's the long-term goal and trying to get refocused there so I don't get too much into the weeds and stay in the weeds. Final thoughts. Uncertainty is unavoidable. The only way to put it, uncertainty is unavoidable. but how you respond to it determines your effectiveness as a leader. By accepting uncertainty, focusing on what you can control, communicating openly, developing flexible strategies, building resilient teams, and maintaining a long-term perspective, you will not only survive uncertain times, you will thrive in them. Okay? And that's when you know how to do this thing well. When uncertainty comes, your business grows through that time. You grow through that time. You make more money during that time. You seek out the opportunities during that time. That's when you know that you really learn how to master it. Instead of being anxious by it, you almost embrace it and say, here it comes. What new great change is going to come from this? And you thrive in them. Remember, leadership isn't about having all the answers. It's about guiding people through the unknown with confidence, clarity, and resilience. That's it for today's episode of the Leadership Playbook. If you found this valuable, be sure to subscribe and share it with others, with other leaders in your network, with other people, whoever it is. If you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover, feel free to reach out. Until next time, lead well and stay strong, my friend. No matter what's going on around you, stay strong, stay consistent. I'll see you in the next episode. Take care.